That's where the
Yeah.
money is. Exactly, exactly. So, man, it's crazy. When I was trying to just put everything together for you and I's conversation, I get
Mm,
excited when I get to talk to people about branding because that was a
mhm,
journey that I was on for some years ago. And a lot of times, for a
mhm,
long time, when I would have these conversations, well, not only just athletes, but even just entrepreneurs on how important it was, like
mhm,
they would get it, but they wouldn't really get it, meaning like, no, this is important to your overall
mm,
career and really
mhm.
understanding having this put together can make business so much easier. You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
so I was
bloody oath.
oh, so I was reflecting and I'm like branding, right? And the first thing I said was like, how did we even get here? Just as a
Mhm,
civilization. Like if you know like
mhm,
the history of it, how branding was first started as a mark that you would put on your livestock, you know what I mean, to
mhm.
show ownership, to then evolve into businesses having to have certain icons and logos to differentiate the difference. To now, fast forward, we're here and you have amateur and collegiate and professional athletes that literally
Yep,
have a brand in order to, make their careers go forward. Like, is this
correct,
mind
yeah.
blowing to you?
I think it is, but I think what's accelerated this so much is obviously the social media part of this. And given that athletes, I guess, and influencers now have their own audience, and not just any audience, it's an engaged audience around their personal brand, like you have, like we're talking Johnny Manziel. If you look back at him, he just had that whole college football, but then that's where it started, his platform. And then that expanded into him going to parties with Drake and the likes of those socialites. But I feel like athletes now that they have the platform of their sport and social media, that is where this personal branding is coming in because it's really where you've discovered, built, and monetized your brand, right? Into what that may be. You never know. Podcasting, YouTubing, merchandise, or even a traditional business. I got some athletes that are building companies, stuff like that as well.
Right.
So it
When
is
you,
interesting.
yeah,
So I guess what I'm trying to say is branding to me is a lot more than where it started, the traditional mark. Like there's so many things that create an athlete's brand now. And I think a big part of that is diving into their brand architecture. And at the top of that is their personal brand. And then below that, it could be a business, it could be their YouTube channel, it could be events and speaking gigs that they go out to. And I feel like that's why personal branding is so important now for athletes because they have so much going on and there's so much opportunity to make money, really segregating that and having your personal brand at the top that drives that into those funnels.
that makes sense. So, because you work with these athletes now, and like you mentioned, Donnie Manziel, which was the reason why his brand was so
Mm,
polarizing because he was the only one that was doing what he was doing from a branding
correct. Yeah.
standpoint. But now that you have a market where everyone is like, I have to have a brand, what are
Mm,
some of the things that athletes can do that can separate themselves from a brand standpoint, but at the same time, not have their brand overshadow their
mm,
playmaking ability or, or put them in a bad position? Because, like I said, we got to get attention in
mm.
some capacity. And if you
Yeah.
notice, a lot of people are getting attention not the right way, which can actually mess up your brand. Like, how are you approaching this with your clients, your athletes?
Well, a lot of like it's like you said, this is a very new topic, so it's not like I feel like it's like this is the playbook. Go and do it. A lot of this comes down to discovering what you like, who's following you, like what is your personal brand. A lot of athletes just getting started can be okay. Well, let's start posting a bit more. Let's start getting some more engaging captions, hooks that are really drawing in brands that are aligned with us, being sponsors and businesses and brands. Because a lot of athletes they don't even want to post. They don't feel comfortable to post yet because they're getting judged online, which I totally get. So that is a barrier of which I'm trying to break down at the moment. And I think how to do that is to make the athlete comfortable and confident who they are off the field. So going into real deep discovery to what they like, what are their values, what's the family like, where have they come from. It can be culture, which is a big thing. I think when you align all of those things to your personal brand away from your sport, that is when you get the confidence to put yourself out there to then showcase that on social media. and attract opportunities. But I think it is when you start feeling the anxiety about posting or the imposter syndrome, that is when I guess you could be someone, just for example, you may go to church and then you start posting about drinking alcohol, about doing the wrong things that don't align with that value, the
Yeah.
community value.
Yeah.
That is when you're going to get attacked online and by anyone really, because that
Yeah.
is, I guess, you're creating that false narrative as to who you are, and you're almost cash grabbing as well.
Yeah.
So you can't just jump into this and go willy nilly
Yeah.
and grab anything that jumps out to you. There's a really big education piece about this, and if you get that right, that's when everything starts happening and you're comfortable and everything just starts free flowing for you. But you can't jump into that until you know who you are. And a lot of athletes know who they are. They just don't have the person asking them the questions, that discovery piece.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, I guess it's like anything, even with some business stuff that I do, I feel like I know the answer, but I'm like, I just need that reassurance or that last push.
Yeah.
And it's really not a mentor, more of a guide. I guess I've walked the walk with things I've done, having a crack at a few businesses myself, and you start off with the anxiety and you're like, oh, I don't know if I should put this in front of everyone. Will it work? Does it align with me? But because I was a finance broker before this, fell into finance broking. Yeah.
My last interview, that's what the conversation was about. We was talking all about finance.
I didn't go to, well, obviously I didn't give school a proper crack because I had sport in my mind.
Yeah.
And I retired sport at 21 and I fell straight into finance broking. Now it's a pretty high end job, as we know. And I guess I
Yeah.
started having to crack online on social media, trying to place myself in the market as that go-to guy for first home buyers, because
Right.
that's obviously my audience. But even then, like I knew, I'm like, oh man, I might get judged for this. Like I felt like I didn't do the study, I didn't go to school, I didn't get the marks. So to start that was really tough for me to start posting about it. But with now, with what I'm doing in sport with athletes, I feel like that's just me right at home. Like it's water off a duck's back. Like I feel like that's me, that's my brand, and my
Yeah.
whole audience that follow me are sporting people as well. So they
Right.
get the content I'm posting.
Right.
So
I mean, because
yeah.
us athletes, we all speak the same language. I want to touch on something that you mentioned earlier, one about imposter syndrome, because us athletes, it's a big deal for us. Because like I can only imagine
Massive.
when I was playing, right? I would like, let alone posting if I lost a game. I'm not even going out
Hmm.
to party if I lost a game. You know what I mean? And so now somebody, it could have been like, you're the one who missed the last shot. But now I'm about to
Yeah.
go and post something about me. They're like, no way. I want to just go crawl into a hole and die until this whole
Yeah.
thing blows over, right? But no, I got to keep my image and branding up. Like, how
Hmm.
are you coaching them through navigating through that? To like, it's mind over matter. Just,
Hmm.
trust the process, stay with the system. Like, what are some key tools that
Well,
you're giving these athletes?
man, that's honestly a great question. I feel like that's something that comes down to the individual. I mean, certain people take certain things different ways. Like some athletes, they can thrive off that. They use it as fuel and that can project them forward. Other athletes, if they see stuff like that, especially, I mean, if they've only just debuted and they're copping flack, it can be very hard.
Yeah.
But a thing and I guess for me as well, I'm still learning this landscape because social media is changing every day.
Yep.
So to answer that is very hard. But the way I think of it, it's almost like, I don't know, this might sound wrong, but like the Mamba mentality. You got to
Yeah.
have that persona when you walk into social media. You got to remember it's not fully the person you are inside. It's just a reflection. And now a lot of people can use that the wrong way, and you hear it all the time. They only post the top 1% of things that happen in their life, and they show that. Again, it comes back to that discovery part. If you have your 4 or 5 brand pillars on social media, and that's what you're posting to, take the athlete out of it. It could be family, business, your training. I feel like that takes a lot of the judgment out of it. Like people appreciate that stuff. It's
Mm,
not it's not you posting about the game and the sport and the sports team. It's further than that. It's you're the person. It's the brand behind the person in the stadium, the athlete in the
right.
stadium. And I think that timing is a big part of it as well. Like you said, if you've just been flogged by 50, you shouldn't be jumping on social media posting about products and services. Just,
Right.
post yourself in the gym. You're back in the gym the next day. So
Right.
that is how you got to use social media. And a lot of it is timing and I guess how much volume of each brand pillar you post. And that again is where us brand coaches come in to educate them about this stuff. A lot of this is me educating and guiding and telling them how to do it, not me doing it for them, because with the way AI and the world's going,
Yeah.
there's so many platforms and tech stacks that they can use now. They don't need to employ people for $5,000 a month or whatever it is. They
Right.
can educate and do it themselves to a standard that when they retire or they've got enough cash, you can allocate that to something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, back to your question, it's timing is a big one on social media because, like you said, yeah, you shouldn't be posting stuff after you've been flogged.
Yeah.
But again, that's where education comes in. Like, because it's so new, you need to bridge the gap on this education as quick as we can for the athletes, because I feel like that is where it's going to give them the confidence to make the money off the field.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's interesting. You mentioned also about identity, which is honestly, I
Mm,
feel like that is the number one foundation that you need first
mm-hmm,
before you build any brand. And I remember when I was working with athletes and their brand, the hardest part was getting them to really
mm,
fully understand who they were as an individual. And I was like, once
correct.
we can get this, all the other stuff is just going to fall into play. And because of us
Mm-hmm,
athletes, and you can relate because you just mentioned like up until you retired, all you were thinking about was sports. And that's kind of how we're hardwired. Like, like, hey, you got to be spot on in order to be the best. We kind of
yep.
usually don't think of other attributes that we possess that we can add
Mm-hmm,
value to society
yep.
until it's forced upon us, meaning like, hey, it's time for you to retire. You got to figure out what's next. But then trying to make that
Mm.
decision, then it's damn near too
It's
late.
a lot
So
of pressure.
exactly, exactly. So
Yeah.
how are you getting them to just settle down for a second and to really identify like who are you outside of
Mm.
the sport you play, you know?
Well, like I think, and again, this is through me having many conversations with athletes. A big part of this is getting them. What I'm starting to notice, I think for education with athletes, it needs to be like a group setting to kick things off, real top of funnel type stuff. And it's not a accountant coming into the club after they've trained for 4 hours and talking numbers in a suit. I think for me is in which I'm starting to build now is events where I'll get a panel of current and ex athletes to talk about their experiences through this landscape. How are they building off the field? What sponsors? How do you align with them? Etc. But then I'm going to bring in, say, 15 to 20 athletes in an education setting. And it might be, let's just say it's in a pub. It's in the downstairs part of the pub. I'm up speaking with the panel. We're also doing some live workshops, how to use their brand to build it into a business, or monetize it, I should say. And like I said before, it could be sponsorships, YouTube channels, podcasts, an actual service business, products, you name it. But then after that, this is a massive key piece of athletes whilst they're playing. After that's done, let's say we go upstairs to a rooftop bar and it's a cocktail setting, beers, very casual, finger food. 30 sponsors, athletes, investors, brands will come in. And then it's putting what you learned downstairs into work. So you're not forcing it on athletes. It's you learn, you have a bit of fun, and then you go upstairs and put into prac. And I mean, that is what they do. They watch video in a video room. They go out on the field, put into prac, and then
Yeah.
they have the game at the end of the week.
Yeah.
I'm going to try. That's how I'm going to try implement my brand ballers events,
Yeah.
and that is the route we're going down at the moment. Because online, and I guess when they don't know too much about it yet, if you're trying to pitch it via
Yeah.
Teams or via email or anything like that, out the door. But
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think the top of my funnel is obviously your organic content, which I post on my social media. And then I'm going to start doing an event a month, like I just spoke about, get them in the room, fill them with what they need to know. And that is for free for athletes as well. It's not a cost.
Yeah.
I've got some sponsors around the event. Once they start learning and seeing the value in that, and they don't have to post online, buy my product, everything's organic with athletes. People There's 80,000 people already following these people
Yeah.
just because they love you. Do you know what I mean?
Right. Yep.
Now it's turning them into more engaged following, and then into buyers. So I think to answer your question, what am I doing at the moment? It's going to be more events, top of funnel events, and
Yeah.
then the ones that like it, then they book a meeting.
Yeah.
I don't think that cold stuff online is dying. I reckon
It is. It is. And that's
people
such
need the
a
human connection again.
They do. They really do. And what you're doing, that's a brilliant idea for two reasons.
Yeah,
One is that's familiar territory for us athletes. We're
yeah,
used to being
mhm,
around like-minded people, being
mhm,
showed information as a collective. We do check and balance with each other, be like, is this trustworthy?
mm,
Then we take the
yeah,
next step. You know what I mean? Like I love that. That's our familiar place for us. And I
yeah,
know for a fact that's definitely going to work. The
mhm.
thing I want to ask you, and pretty much if you can kind of just share your story, like how did you even get here to this point? Like no one wakes up and say, "Man,
Mate,
I want to build brands for people." You know what I mean?
well, mate, it's actually quite a funny story. Back to my finance days, I was doing a bit of finance, more home loans for athletes.
Hmm.
A lot of my friends are athletes, rugby league players. One of them being Victor Radley, and he plays for the Sydney Roosters and England internationally. He come in for a meeting one day, and we sat outside. We are having a beer, and I'd actually had a factory, another client of mine who does print on demand products like
Yeah.
t-shirts, hats,
Yep.
etc. And they were like, "Oh, we want to do a T-shirt for Victor called Victor the Inflictor." Now, this was at a time where
Mm.
he was getting in a bit of trouble doing high shots, getting sent off 10 in the bin, and
Yeah.
he built this nickname with the fans and the radio hosts and the game callers called Victor the Inflictor because he was
Yeah.
inflicting a lot of pain on people in the games. So yeah, we were having a beer and I was like, okay, well, I've been approached about this. What do you think? And he said, oh, I'm not too sure. I don't think we'll sell many. Can't be bothered to put in the effort for that small return. Because he's got a couple of businesses on the side he's doing as well. I was like, look, I'll run it for you, and if we make the money, we'll come up with some sort of split. And he was like, done, righto. So I went
Right.
back to the office. Yeah, started planning that. Went back to the factory. I sort of gave him a design concept as where I wanted the t-shirt and the image to go. Send that to them. I started working on the e-com store in the background, Shopify. Got his Instagram login, stuff like that. And then I think it was about, might have even been like 3 or 5 days later. We went live on a Thursday night. Put the Shopify link in his in his bio. I uploaded a static render of just the t-shirt. And that was it. There's no marketing plan. There's no sales plan. There's none of that. No
Right.
email campaign. Just put
Yeah.
up a static photo on his Instagram. And then we woke up Friday morning with a pretty big chunk of cash in the account. And I was like, wow, there's something here. But I didn't realize at the time what it was really monetizing a personal brand for an athlete.
Right.
Now, there's
Yeah.
many ways to do that, as I was saying, but that's just the one that fell in my lap. And I could just see the end vision because I listened to a lot of Gary Vee at the time, and that he was tapping into it. So I thought there was something there. I backed it. It worked, and then sort of tried a few other things on the way to where I am now, which have worked, but not to that scale. And then it's made me, I guess, look back now and go, why did that work? And it was his performances on the field. He was building that narrative around Victor the Inflictor, and he had the audience being the NRL crowd. He had the media pumping it up, the marketing piece of that. So he really just built this massive, I guess, engine and momentum around his
Yeah.
personal brand. And then it just so happened it was perfect timing. Someone reached out. I got him in the office at the perfect time and just went bang, bang. And people just ran with it. It was organic. There was no
Right.
thought process or anything put into it. But yeah, so now I'm trying to go back and work out, okay, why did that work? What was the top of funnel? How many people actually viewed that post? How many people clicked the link? How many people added it to the cart, etc. And obviously, a big part of this is, as a lot of people know, especially in ecom, the top of funnel. How many views can you get on your content pieces to drive them down that funnel? Now we
Yeah.
didn't even spend any money on that, but the numbers were six figures that looked at this post. It was insane, and
Wow.
it was just organic. It was like just hit a gold vein, a narrow gold
Yeah.
vein, just went
Yeah.
boom. Um, but yeah, so and then like a lot of effort does go into that to do it properly, a lot of planning, a lot of strategic planning, which
Mhm.
I had no idea at the time. So going back, just figuring out why that worked, and I've got there now, which is my Brand Ballers Academy to teach athletes how to do that and track it and do it properly. It's really discover, build, and monetize their personal brand. That's the three parts to it. And yeah, so a year ago, I left my finance job to chase this, and here we are,
Man,
living the
it's
dream, just hustling.
but you know what's interesting about this story? It's like all you need
Mm,
is one moment to show that you're going in the right direction to give you the confidence and the momentum to continue to
mm,
go.
correct. Yeah.
And it is those moments that really work. But one thing I wanted to point out from that story, just to kind of hit
Mm-hmm.
home on, I saw multiple elements that just so happened to work. You had an athlete at the time
Mm,
that was doing something that was very consistent and
yep.
semi-controversial, right? But then
Very.
you very, right? But then you tied a tagline or a slogan to that action
Mm-hmm.
that the audience can identify whether they wanted to get behind it or if they wanted to be against it. Because both of those help,
Mm,
right? When it comes to branding.
mm-hmm.
And then you gave them an actual tangible product, i.e., a t shirt
Mm-hmm.
for them to be able
Yep.
to attach to. And it's like that's the secret sauce. So, with that being said, how does someone that may not, one, may not have a large of a platform like Victor, and two, may not even be that big of a role player on that team, be able to build some momentum or a moment in time like that? How do you,
Well,
engineer that?
it's a great question, but I think that for the athletes that aren't that big or they don't have their moment that yet, you can create that for yourself. That can be you going to an event and creating moments. That can be you going on a podcast and creating a moment. That can be you going down to your local footy club and creating moments for young kids. But that all has to realign back to your personal brand. Now, obviously, Victor's moments were on the footy field, but you can create yours anywhere now, and it can be on social media. All you have to do is jump on Riverside, jump on live, jump on anything, and tell your story. And the moments come, and then when they come, you got to really capitalize it and drive it. And I think a big part of this is you don't want to jump into monetize too quick. I have done that a couple of times, and it doesn't work. You need to build the story, the momentum, the community. You need to start seeing the numbers,
Yeah.
and then like it might not just be one moment. Like I feel like a personal brand is broken down into many moments, and then when you get
Okay.
your big moment, that's when you hit it. It's really building, and
Are you
again, a
able
lot of
to
it's
share those
momentum.
moments without us giving too much of your method?
Well, again, we use Victor. His moments that led him into becoming the Inflictor snowballed. Now, his weren't just the high shots and the send offs, it was some commentary. He won a grand final. He jumped on right after the game, and someone asked him, "What are you doing after this?" or something like that. And he was like, "Beers, beers, beers, and more beers." Like stuff like that is just building his character and personal brand as to who he is. And obviously the on field stuff, but even away from that, his training moments, like you hear many things, he is very well loved and respected in his club. He's the hardest worker, hardest trainer. So all of that, those little things snowball and build to the moment of, like you call it, there's a couple of send offs and 10 in the bins. Obviously, he's not proud of, but they, they did, I guess, help launch the Inflictor and his brand. And then when you just got to know when the right time is to monetize. And like I said, we fell into it pretty much by luck. But then a big thing is how do you notify that? And that is where I come in, notifying these moments, planning the moments. Like we've rolled Victor into and his mates into a brand called the Salty Pigs now. Now they're a touring nine side, and if you look them up, that brand perfectly reflects Victor and his mates. The Salty Pigs. The boys call themselves the Pigs because they're always out and about on the drink. They're camping, they're fishing. They're like that rugged adventure type
Yeah.
style of boys. And obviously, the salty part of it is the surfing and fishing component. But they were trying to do more of a Venroy style brand, and I guess for the people that are listening, it's a Bondi brand where it's very stylish, very high end kind of brand. And we worked out that that really wasn't working for them, and it wasn't a reflection of who the boys are as a group. So we quickly flipped that 2 years ago, and we gave it that more fishing, adventure, camping looseness vibe for the boys. And a big part of that was, I guess we were talking moments. We reactivated the brand at a nines tournament called the 9PL, which is a big international rugby league nines tournament, which has got massive momentum now. And the boys were lucky enough to jump into that early. Now they're in that. So we reactivated that, started pumping out some fishing shirts, bucket hats, cool vintage style pig stuff, completely the opposite of what they were doing. And from that moment when we reactivated at a tournament, an event, a moment, they've just gone bang. They've hit their straps because everything's on brand. Once everything's on
Yeah.
brand, that's what works. They weren't on brand. We got them on brand. We activated them at an event where there was a large number of people, a large number of media around there. I mean, the 9PL social accounts last year, they were doing north of 1 million over the
Wow.
weekend, I'm pretty sure. So it's huge. And I think for any brand, you need to really align events to your brand, especially for athletes,
Yeah. Yeah.
because you can jump in there, you can activate your product services. Everyone around there is for sport. So that's your audience, that's your community. And a big part of this is, which athletes hate, is the content piece. Like you have live people asking for interviews. You can
Yep.
do live shopping there. You can do anything like that. And then that just fills your content calendar for the rest of the year, really, without
Yeah.
having to forcefully make content. And we all know how hard that is.
Yes.
So
Yes.
doing it live at an event and you can talk and you can go, okay, come jump in front of this product. I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to go interview this person because I want to do a collab on Instagram. Events like that around sport are huge.
And that's a perfect segue to my next question because, like I said, we talked about the
Mm-hmm.
moment, which is you're fortunate if you can get a moment. You're even lucky if you can get a second moment.
Mm,
Longevity is a thing that really grows a brand. And it sounds like the moment that Victor found the moment, you had already started thinking in the future, like, all right, how do we keep this momentum going? And how do we build a
yeah.
solid brand that is going to
Yep.
outlast your actual professional career?
Mm-hmm.
When you're sitting down talking to your clients about that, are they receptive to the long-term vision? Are they able to understand that? Or is that like pulling teeth?
Nah,
I figured,
not at all. And
nothing's changed.
although it is becoming earlier, I've got a couple that are doing like a sort, not like work experience. They're
Hmm.
jumping into businesses now. I've got one of the boys, Ewan Aiken, plays the South Sydney Rabbitohs in the NRL. He's jumping into a financial planning company and doing 2 days a week while studying, whilst doing brand ballers as well. So I think that is huge. And I think if more people can start thinking like him, it's just, it makes the softening of the transition out of sport so much softer and easier. I was speaking to a client the other day and she said it's the breakup. It's the big breakup when an athlete leaves sport. And I'm like, okay, well, how do you soften that? And she was explaining that it's through building things outside of sport, like it can be a community group thing, it can be your business. Obviously, cash flow is a massive thing for athletes when they finish.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, like a lot of athletes tie a lot of their money up in property and whatnot.
Yeah.
And then when they finish, it's like, okay, well, I still need money to live month to month. If you can create your own business and create your own team, employ people, you still get that team feeling as well. That doesn't leave, and you got cash flow, which is for athletes two massive things when they're finishing sport.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Another
it's hard to
thing,
get across.
yeah, it is. It is. Another thing, and let me know if you have observed this as well. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
you've been doing this for some time, but like it's popular to now have quote unquote a brand guy. Remember back in the day, all the top tier athletes, they had an agent, they had a real estate guy.
Yeah.
Now it's like, I got my branding team. And because of that, there's people all over the globe with branding agencies. How
Mm-hmm.
are you, one, positioning your business to kind
Mm-hmm.
of stand out? And two, how are you able to navigate from an ethical standpoint? Because, like I said,
Mm-hmm.
whenever anything is popular, you got people from everywhere trying to extract resources from these athletes. And a
Yeah.
lot of times these athletes get left with the short end of the stick and now they burnt out and depleted. Like, how are you kind of
Mm.
keeping, guardrails for your athletes?
Well, I wouldn't look at myself as a brand manager, a brand anything management really.
Hmm.
I'm just here to educate athletes on how to discover, build, and monetize their personal brand. Now, after you do finish with my coaching, if that's what we're going to call it, they go into another network called the Unite Network. and that is filled with people that are financial planners, accountants, events, like it's a hub, so to
Yeah.
speak. So I sort of prep them for that. For that, for the management side of things, I'm not too sure what that is because I feel like athletes, this is something that they can do themselves. They don't need, or at least get started. They don't really need a management team. Like this is so easy and accessible now. I feel like the only time where you might need a manager for this off-field stuff is when the big endorsement contracts roll in. But even
Yeah.
then, you can have a legal team that look over that. But a lot of this is athlete push. Like it really is. If the athlete isn't doing this themselves, it's just a waste of time for everyone. Like there's no point of having a manager if you're not posting what you're meant to be posting. If you're not doing your own cold outreach, like a lot of athletes need to take a lot of responsibility on their own personal brand
Okay.
to get things done. And that only is going to help when you transition as well. Like if you're an athlete that's filling up their calendar with podcasts, with meetings, anything that can essentially be looked at as revenue generating, that helps the transition. There's two sides of that coin. People are going to say that obviously they're not focusing on their sport, which might mean their performance starts
Yep.
lacking. And then when that
Yep.
happens, they're going to get attacked.
Yep.
But I mean, this is only a personal opinion. A lot of people these days are doing more than one thing. So I think athletes need to learn how to juggle that, how to balance life. Don't be all in on something because that is obviously, as you know, that's when all the pressure and everything starts. And you feel like that's the only thing you're attached to. So when you get attacked or a bad performance, that's when life comes crumbling down. But if you have all these other things in the background, I shouldn't say all these other things because it makes it sound like a lot. But if you have some
Yeah.
sport,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's only
Yeah.
as
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
and you're lucky
Okay.
to be.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
if
That's interesting you said that because like
you,
I see, 250, 300,000, that's a good job. But if you're only getting that for, like you said, 3 to 5 years, you know,
what's the point?
what's the point? So it's like
Mm,
if you are making that, you kind of force yourself to think what's next versus sometimes some of these athletes out here in the States
mhm.
that are making 10 million a year, they
One
can think
contract
that
is done.
exactly. But a lot of
Mm,
times, if they don't make the right decision, they'll be broke flat on their ass. You know what I mean?
mm,
And wondering where did it all go. So I feel like it's two different strategies and approach just based upon that. Like someone that's
yeah.
not making that much know that they got to sustain it might be more diligent in keeping that and growing that versus someone that got it. I don't like to say overnight because they work their butts off to get those big contracts. But when it all comes like that, at once, it's kind of hard to just really, really be like, all right, how do I not only retain this, but how do I multiply this for the futures? Which leads to
Hmm.
my next question about retirement. Would you ever work with a retired athlete who wanted to get back into rebranding themselves? They might be a few years removed already from
100%.
actually playing. Okay.
But then
Yeah.
for now, I guess it's a should. If you're
Yeah.
not
Yeah. Yeah.
very
Yep.
important, you need to see
Yep.
the team.
That's funny you said
I,
that because my wife was
yeah.
teasing me. We were on vacation in June and I brought my computer and I was working on some stuff. And she was like, "You don't know how to
Hmm.
vacation in peace." And I was like, "Well, when I was playing, even though we were off, we were still like studying something or
Doing
training."
something,
I'm like, "That's just how we're
yeah.
hardwired." So it's funny that
Hmm.
that you even mentioned that. But it's even more interesting, and I think we might have found a niche market
Mm.
because there's so many ex-athletes who are maybe 4 or 5, 10 years removed and they're more focused now, they're more mature, they
Yeah.
realize that life is hard, but they still have tremendous value that they can add to
Hmm.
society, and they still have a story and a product or service, but they're like,
Correct.
who's going to help me? They remember when they were playing and all they had to do was
Mm.
pick up the phone and everybody answer. But now it's like, Jabari, who? What? You
Mm.
play for? You know what I mean? And it's like, but I still have something I want to share. I think that would be
Yeah.
an amazing niche to serve those athletes that are
Well,
far removed.
but if
Exactly.
you
Yeah.
through,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
doing that
Yep. Yeah.
and you
Yeah.
kick yourself.
Yeah. You gotta go right back into being structured again with
Yeah.
everything. No,
Correct.
you're
Yeah.
absolutely right. All right,
Hmm.
so we're at the point of my segment before we wrap it up. I have a segment, I'll call
Yeah.
it Bag or Broke, right? And it's based
Yeah.
upon what people would do in certain positions with their resources. So I'm going to give you a
Hmm.
scenario, and I just want you to give me options of what you would do. So here you are, an athlete, and you have got a pretty nice size contract and an outside brand deal. So that's upward,
Mm-hmm.
let's say $500,000. Now
Mm-hmm.
that you have these resources, what is the first thing you do? And I'll give you some options. One, continue to build a brand. Two, build a business. Three, invest. And then the fourth option, you can create or you can blend up. What you go ahead and go.
That
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
startup
yeah,
fund. Forget
yeah.
what.
Man, I love it. That's a great
Mm.
strategy. A great strategy. Before I let you
Hopefully,
go,
I do it myself.
no, I know, right?
Yeah.
Before I let you go, if you could, man, just share a little bit about Baller Buzz, how someone can contact you, who is it for, and what do you guys
Yeah,
do?
yeah.
Love it. I love it. And my bad, Brand Ballers. I don't know how I
Brand
called it.
ballers.
I did it back. I did it backwards. Dyslexic
That's
kid.
right. It
Yeah.
still sounds pretty good. So yeah, brand ballers.
Appreciate you.
Obviously.
Oh man. I love it. I love it. Well, listen, Jayden, man, once again, I appreciate you taking out this time on this beautiful, well, Sunday for me and it's Monday for you, but still it's early and I know you got a busy, busy schedule. So I appreciate you again, man. I thank you for your time, man. And it was great. All right. Awesome, man.
Much
Well,
love
you
from
take it easy.
Sydney.
For real. Peace,
Catch
man.
you, bro.
All right.